Greg's happy.
Good evening and welcome to the Press Box. My name is Melissa Ponzio, and for the next 30 minutes, I'll be your host. With me, as always, Jay and Ty. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good.
Just fine, just fine. Now let's start things off with the playoffs, and I have to admit, I did not believe that they would make it this far. But what are the keys to the Atlanta Phillies series?
Well, I think the areas that you have to look in, Jay, I think the Braves had the advantage starting pitching. I just think they'll always have a definite advantage. That's the biggest strength of the team. When you look at the clubs offensively, I think Philadelphia has a better hitting ball club. And the amount of home runs that they hit were about the same. And the defense of these clubs, I think Philadelphia was really careless out in the field, and it may hurt them in a close game. But, Jay, I just really think that I really don't want to see the Braves come down in a situation where you have to compare the bullpens, because I really think that might be a really big advantage for Philadelphia. I just have a lot of confidence that Mitch Williams will be able to come out and show the experience and get the job done, while the Braves have a rookie in McMichael, and still I don't know if we have that proven closer yet.
Well, you might see a different bullpen for the Braves in the playoffs, Ty. I think that they've already said that Smoltz might pitch a little relief in games 1 and 2, and I think you're going to see Merker come out of the pen. And if he's throwing good, in that no-hitter mode, they may leave him in there to close the game. I'm not sure. I know they're committed to McMichael to actually be their closer, but in a situation, Bobby Cox plays hunches. We've seen him do that in the playoffs. After 162 games of playing by the book, he'll play a hunch in the playoffs or the World Series. And like I said, if Smoltz or Merker's out there, you may see them come in and mow them down. But the point you made about Philly's defense, that's going to be the difference. The Braves have a much better defensive team. And in playoffs, pitching and defense, that's what's going to carry in a 7-game series.
Yeah, I would think one of the key areas also is that I think it's very important the Braves win the first game. In Game 2, Tommy Green is pitching, and in that game up in Philadelphia a couple of Fridays ago, they really could not touch him. And I really don't like that matchup, putting Greg Maddux against him, because I think that's the Braves' most consistent pitcher right now. I would rather see them put someone else out there to face Green and take their chances with Maddux on someone else. I think that if the Braves lose that first game, that they're in a lot of trouble, because I did not see them face or go against Green with any confidence or show me any ability. They could hit this guy. And if they go down 2-9, well, then you get a history lesson.
Well, I think the Braves fans know from coming from 10 games back this year and the way they won the playoffs last year, they could go down 3-0, and I don't think the Braves fans and the baseball world would think the Braves are in that much trouble because of their taking it 1 game at a time and their pitching. They could come back. I disagree with you on the Tommy Green thing. I think that since Green's their best pitcher, you got to match Maddux up against him so that he's the only guy that has a shot at beating him. You don't want a pitcher that gives up 3-4 runs a game. You want someone that can keep you in the ball game the whole time. And I think Maddux and Green will be an excellent matchup. But how many times have you seen a team juggle their pitching staff? What they're doing is they're trying to get Green 2 starts at home. Okay? Well, let's see if the series the Game 6 hasn't been determined yet. So right. I think that, when you do that, that kind of agitates the other team, and we'll see if the Braves win it in 5, or if maybe they beat him in Game 2 because they're trying to get him a start in Game 6 in Philadelphia.
Personally, if I'm Jim Fregosi, I start him in Game 1. I would try and get the lead.
Okay. I'd like to remind our audience that we are live, and if you'd like to call in, the number here is 873-6713. Now, you mentioned a good point. You said if they lost the first 3 games, that they still might come back. Do you think that may be a factor? Because I've noticed that with the Braves, they almost have to be losing for them to come back really, really strong.
Well, they don't have a panic mode. It doesn't matter how much they get behind, either in a game or a series, or as they proved this year in the season. Mm-hmm. They have that they're just calm, and they know that they're the better team, and they know in the long run they'll win out. And I just feel like you wouldn't see the Braves. They wouldn't shuffle anything. If they lost the first 3 games of this series, they would come out in Game 4 like they did in Game 1. Mm-hmm. Only you're right, they would win it because the Braves have a knack for knowing when they have to get the hits, when they have to get the outs.
They work as a team.
Yeah.
Ty?
Jay, to an extent, I'm going to disagree here, because then you're talking about a different game. I think that during the regular season, the Braves were always saying there's always a tomorrow and there's always a tomorrow. And over a long period of time, over 162 ball games, yeah, having those 4 or 5 pitchers that the Braves have and having that huge advantage, that's going to keep you going a long way. I mean, no other team can do that. So I think that in a series like this, where you can even go to a 3-man rotation, that takes away the strength of the club, I think there would be a little bit more pressure on this team.
Okay, well, we have a phone call. Hi, caller, you're on the air.
Oh, yeah. Oh, excuse me. Let me turn the TV down.
Please do.
I was just wondering, who is that pitcher y'all were talking about that's going to be pitching the second game of the NLCS?
Tommy
Tommy
Green,
Green.
he's an ex-Brave.
He's got about a 3.5 ERA, but when the Braves went up there 2 Fridays ago, he had the Braves number.
Yeah, he's 10-0 in Philadelphia this year. That's why they're trying to juggle their rotation to get him starts in Philadelphia. They don't want him to pitch here in Atlanta.
Well, Tim Green's pitching the first game, right?
No, Tommy Green. And they shuffled that. Schilling's going to pitch the first,
All right. I just wanted to clarify what you said.
and
Thanks.
Green's going to pitch the second. Thanks for the call.
Thanks.
Thank you. How do you feel about the new playoff format starting next year?
Well, I think if there's ever a situation where you could agree with this format, Jay, is this year. I mean, here it is. I think that the playoffs may be, to an extent, a little anticlimactic because the second-best team in baseball is not in the playoffs. I thought that, yeah, that was a great pennant race that we saw with the Braves and Giants, but, I mean, for the playoffs, I would really like to see the Giants in there this year. In Montreal, they have a case as well. With the format next year, you would have seen those 4 teams in there. I think Montreal had something like 94 wins. Philadelphia had, what, about 97 wins, Jay?
Yeah.
And then to go along with the 103 and 104 with the Giants and Braves respectively, I think that would be an excellent matchup.
Well, the only advantage would have been that the Braves could have eliminated the Giants instead of the Dodgers this year. But, yeah, the format really favors the Braves, the new format next year, because with the pitching staff they have and the players they have under contract, they can finish second for at least second for the next 5 or 6 years, which will put them in the playoffs if they're better than the other second-place team. However, I don't like the new playoff format. I think that's why you play 162 games, find out who's the best team in the league or the division, and that's it. I mean, there shouldn't be a second-place team allowed into the playoffs. Like this year, like Ty said, sure, the Giants won 103 games, but they didn't win their division,
Right.
so why put them in the playoffs?
Okay, I want to hold this format thing for a second because we've got a phone call. Hi, caller, you're on the air.
Hey, guys, I enjoy the show. I just wanted to disagree with you on the Braves-Phillies matchup as far as the bullpen. I think the Braves definitely have the edge there.
In the bullpen?
Yes.
How can you say the Braves bullpen has the edge over anybody?
Why?
The way they give up runs.
Well, I think the main advantage, Greg McMichael has been awesome this year, and you have Kent Merker and Marvin Freeman, of course, is not going to be on the team, which is a plus. And, you know, the Phillies, Mitch Williams is not exactly the Mr. Control pitcher or Mr. Reliable. You look at David West and Larry Anderson, I just don't think they stack up.
Yeah, you got a point there because I think when the Braves played the Phillies in Philadelphia in that key series, that's what happened in the second and third games of the series. As the starter rolled, the Phillies won, but as soon as the Phillies got into the bullpen, the Braves just hammered them. So you may be right. The Braves bullpen might be a little bit better than the Phillies.
Of
But
course, I haven't even mentioned Jay Howell and Steve Bedrosian.
they've had a pretty good year. I don't know if they're going to be situational pitchers in the playoffs, so you won't see them pitch to more than one batter, I don't think.
I think I'd
enjoy the
depend
show.
All right, thanks, Jay. I think I would depend on Bedrosian a lot more than Howell. But getting back to Williams, this guy has shown that he can save a lot of baseball games. Yeah, he has control problems. I mean, this guy will load up the bases with 3 walks and then strike the next 3 guys out. So to me, all I look is a bottom line. He knows how to save games. McMichael has not been in these situations before. That's why I'm a little weary. And of all things, don't be surprised if you see Mike Stanton, who has really been a money pitcher in the playoffs and previous World Series, to come out and to get a key out in the 7th or 8th inning. Don't be surprised if you see him.
Yeah, he'll also be spotted in there to get a left-hander out. But, you know, we keep touching on the fact that Mitch Williams has control problems. But, you know, I don't really see McMichael going 3 up, 3 down when he comes in. It seems like he always walks a batter or he always gives up a base hit.
No, it's perfect.
He has been the closer that the Braves needed. You know, he's closed the games. He had a couple of screw-ups in a row there, and then he got back on track. But by no means is he an overpowering pitcher that comes in and it's 3 up, 3 down. He almost always puts a guy on, and so you can't really say that he has an advantage over Mitch Williams.
I agree. That's the thing that concerns me is that he comes out there and you sit there and you say, you got a 3-run lead, throw strikes, and a lot of times
He walks the first guy.
That changeup just doesn't fall in.
That's what it gets you when you're watching the game, boy, I tell you.
Okay, well, we have another phone call. Hi, caller, you're on the air.
Yes, I called to disagree with the last phone caller.
Okay.
I think he's totally wrong about Stanton in the Braves bullpen. The only asset the Braves bullpen has is McMichael, and if the starters give up more than 5 runs, we're in a lot of trouble.
Well, during
Right.
the course of the year when the starters gave up 5 runs, yeah, they were in trouble, especially before Fred McGriff came. The thing with Mike Stanton, and I'll point on this again, is that in the past 2 years in postseason play, he was a money pitcher. He would get people out. His fastball was unhittable. I think he might go to him again this year.
Jay?
Okay, I think we're forgetting about Wohlers, too. Wohlers is a fireball pitcher they can bring in after a Tommy Glavine changeup or a Greg Maddux changeup, and it makes it look faster. I think in the regular season, they've stuck with Wohlers a little too far. In the playoffs, he may be more effective pitching to 1 or 2 batters. He's proved that he can't close the game, so it's foolish to think that he can close an inning. If they bring him in to pitch the 8th, maybe he'll pitch to the first 2 hitters in the 8th. Then, like Ty says, they'll bring in Stanton for 1 batter and then go to McMichael as a closer.
Well,
And
yeah, I
hope-
think they need to totally get rid of Stanton and go to Wohlers as their close man and McMichael as their setup guy.
I know all the fans are on Stanton's case, but if you talk to the Braves and their personnel and the Braves players, they have complete confidence in Stanton when he comes out of the bullpen. Thanks for the call.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Enjoy the show.
Great, thanks. Before we move on to Toronto, our arch enemy from last year, let's have a prediction.
All right, well, the Braves.
No, I mean as far as just winning, totally coming out and winning the whole thing.
The whole thing.
I think the Braves
the
are going to go
series?
7 games in each series. I
Yeah.
really do. How can you say that the Braves are going to win it in 4 or 5 or 6 because they showed over the course of the season that they
That's
just
right.
wait till the last minute to win
That's
this
right.
thing. So I think if they get up a couple games, they'll relax, and if they get down a couple games,
It'll
they'll just
make 'em,
play better
right.
and make it up. So I really think the Braves are probably the better team. They're the most balanced team in the playoffs, and they're odds-on favorite in Vegas to win the thing. So I wouldn't talk
Oh,
that.
well, we know if the Vegas boys are saying, then
That's right.
that
That's
must
where
be
that
right.
Vegas money is.
So, but I really think it'll go 7 games.
I think it'll
okay.
go 7 also, and I just think that after a course of the series, that Philadelphia's second-line pitchers going against the Braves' second-line pitchers just aren't as good, and I think that'll be a difference.
So it's going to be another nail
Plus,
biter.
you know, here's a little known fact. You know that teams that have the closest pennant race do the best in the playoffs because they're more focused, they're more on time, their hitting's well-timed, their pitching's more in rotation. Teams that take a week off because they clinched early, they just can't seem to get that edge back. I mean, they will, but it might be a game too late, you know?
But that reminds me of that 1980 Philadelphia team where they had that war with the Astros in the playoffs, and then they went in there and looked really good against Kansas City, who had gone ahead and won the pennant in the American League and was just sitting there waiting for them. You were thinking, hey, Philadelphia's worn out. I mean, McGraw's just come out here, pitched every game, and that 1980 Philly team. You're right, Jay. I agree with that philosophy. They had been playing every day, but they were ready for the series, and they won it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we have a phone call. Hi, caller, you're on the air. Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Yes. How much do tickets cost now for these games? I haven't been to them in a while.
I believe that when they were selling over the phone, they were selling from $45 to $65.
It was,
third-
it was
yeah,
I think,
yeah.
35 for upper deck, and for lower
Thanks.
deck it was 45.
30 and 45 for the playoffs and 60 and 75 for the World Series. There's no guessing there. That is
There
the
you
price
go.
of the ticket.
Jay
That's
has
it.
already
They only had a
checked it
limited
out.
amount. They only had
Yeah.
like 10,000.
Yeah, they didn't tell you. I
Seats.
don't know if you noticed that. They didn't tell you how many seats they had. They just jammed the phone line so like 4 million people called for like 1,000 tickets or something like that.
Exactly.
But anyway, that was the price of the tickets.
And they're all gone. So if you don't have yours, tough luck, because we don't have ours. And we have another phone call. Hi, you're on the air. Hello? Maybe not. Let's talk about Toronto. Do you think they'll return to the World Series?
In this series, Jay, personally, I like the White Sox. I think that with the pitching that they have, of Blackjack McDowell, who I think is really a consistent pitcher. You have Alvarez, Fernandez, and then another young guy, Jason Bear, who was really effective for them this year and had a strong finish. Again, I think Chicago has the stronger starting pitching to go through this series. I think the key for them is to keep a lot of these little scrappy Toronto guys off base. As a team, Toronto stole 170 bases, and they have about 5 or 6 guys in that starting lineup that can steal one on you. So if they keep those guys off, they're going to take one of the strengths away from the Blue Jays. I think they can do that. I think their pitching's good enough to do that. That's why I like them.
I'm not sure. I think that, the whole time this American League Series has been billed, the Chicago pitching versus the Toronto hitting. But Chicago's got an excellent hitting team, and Toronto has good pitchers. Hankins really good. They're moving Stottlemyre up. That's got to be a fresh arm because he wasn't in the rotation until Morris got hurt.
But that's an ERA way over 4.
Yeah, and Guzman, he's proved. What is he, 3-0 in the playoffs?
Guzman's a money
1-0
pitcher.
in the World Series. So you can't really say that a team has advantage. I want the White Sox to win because I'm tired of the series being in a dome and on plastic grass. But I'm not so sure. I think Toronto has maybe a little better team, maybe a little better edge. Ty's right. White Sox have better pitching, so it's hard to pull against the team. Yeah. So I'm just saying that game's going to go 7 games. That series will go 7 games. And maybe the 7th game will go into extra innings.
Maybe.
How's
Let's
that for a
hope.
prediction?
Okay.
Let's hope.
Well, I think Chicago will win in 6, and the real key for them is to beat Guzman in that first game. If they beat him in that first game, I don't think the next pitchers are nearly as good, Hinkin and Stottlemyre. I think that Chicago's second and third pitchers can compete with anyone, and so I think that would put a lot of pressure on Toronto.
Okay, well, we have another phone call. Hi, caller, you're on the air.
Hello there.
Hi.
Hey, Jay. How you doing?
All right.
I got a question for you. I'm a Deion Sanders fan. What's the Deion Sanders factor?
In the playoffs,
Yes, and where are they going to put him in the batting rotation?
is this the Deion Sanders factor in the NFL playoffs or the baseball playoffs?
Baseball.
Okay, yeah. I think they're going to use him as the left-handed DH against right-handed pitching. And he won't be, I don't think he'll bat in the top 6 spots in the order, which will be weird because DHs usually are way up there. But I don't think Cox will mess with the first 6 hitters because they've been doing so good. Sanders will be the first left-handed pinch hitter off the bench when Cabrera does the DHing against left-handed pitching.
Okay.
But other than that, I don't think you're going to see him very much. But Sanders has the capacity to make something happen with a little bit of prime time he's going to have.
But they're not going to put him in the field. Is that what you're saying?
Nah. Thanks for your call.
Personally, Jay, I would. I think that what they might do is take Ronnie Gant on some of those days, put him as the designated hitter, and put Deion Sanders in the outfield.
Well, they haven't expressed that. I mean, they might do that later on in the game if they want to go to a defensive lineup. I don't think Gant is that much of a defensive liability as he used to be, and I also think that would screw Gant's timing up at the plate if they started the game like that. You're going to want your lineup to be pretty much set like it was in the last, 50 games where they won 40 of them or something
Right.
like phenomenal.
Keep it kind of consistent.
Yeah, and so you're right, though. They may go, okay, it's a one-run game. Ronnie, how about sitting this inning out, let Deion play? You can switch for the NL fans that don't know, you can switch the defensive alignment out, but you can never pinch hit for your DH because that makes your pitcher have to bat.
A little
Okay.
bit of knowledge
Did you know
right
that?
there.
I thought everybody knew that.
Okay, well, we have another phone call. Hi, caller, you're on the air.
Okay, Jay,
Yo.
I'd like to ask you something. You said that you think they're going to use Dion as a DH in the
They already
American
said
League
they
Park.
were.
Well, why do you think they wouldn't use, say, Ryan Klesko?
He's not on the playoff roster.
He's not in the roster?
No.
Oh, okay.
They're going to have Tarasco, Sid Bream, and Sanders as their left-handed pinch hitters in the playoffs.
Okay.
Of course, now we were talking about Sanders as a DH. Obviously, you know he won't DH in the Philadelphia Phillies series.
Yeah, I know that. I was talking about World Series.
Okay.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you for your call. Back to Toronto. How do you think Frank Thomas's injury will factor in?
Well, hopefully it's not that serious of an injury because that's a big part of the White Sox offense. As I said earlier, I think he's going to be the most valuable player in the American League, and he was second to Albert Bell in RBIs over there. Frank Thomas, well, I think this series, Jay, may come down to someone just hitting a home run late in the game, similar to what we saw in the World Series last year. People like Borders coming up and hitting home runs, and I think this may be the type of series where you may have even an unknown or unexpected type of player, a Karkovic or someone like that, get a big hit and win a big game.
We've all seen that happen with Lemke in the World Series here. You know, your bottom of the order has to come through in a situation because the good hitters, the 300 hitters, the 40 home run men, they've been scouted. They know they're going to pitch around them. I think Toronto already tipped their hand tonight in the first inning with 2 outs, nobody on. Frank Thomas didn't see a pitch near the plate. So they're just going to pitch around him all series long. So whether he's hurt or not, I don't think it's going to be
It's not going to factor in.
It's not going to factor in. I think that Toronto's just going to pitch around him and around him and around him.
Okay.
Because Ventura just isn't a McGriff or a Justice or a Matt Williams or a Barry Bonds. They don't have the protection behind Frank Thomas that they need.
Which means that the guys like Ventura and Karkovic are going to have big hits.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, well, we have another phone call. Hi, caller, you're on the air. Hello?
Technical difficulty.
Technical
Again.
difficulties on this night. Well, would you like to move on to the NFL? And I'm sorry to say the Falcons, who are 0-5.
Well, Jay, this team lost 6-0. The defense improved, but again, it looks like this team just seems to somehow find a way to lose football games. I think this is a team that is confused, or they just have
Misguided?
Well, they have so many players out there. I don't know if they know what their roles are. But the thing that I do know is that they just figure out ways to lose games, plain and simple.
Every game, it seems like. They just, I mean, it's incredible that now that what this game came down to a 3rd and 1. They had a 3rd and 1, and they tried for a touchdown instead of a first down. It's like decisions like that are going to cost you an NFL game when you're struggling. However, the best thing to happen to this team is that they have a bye. So I can guarantee you the Falcons won't lose this week.
The thing about the loss to Chicago is that they had those turnovers. I don't think Chicago had any turnovers. The Falcons had 3 turnovers. And when you do that on the road with a team that's not playing well, you're going to lose, plain and simple. You got to stop making those mistakes.
Okay, well, we have another phone call. Hi, caller, you're on the air.
How you doing?
Just fine.
What's
How are
going
you?
on, Jay?
All right?
I have 2 questions for you.
Sure.
All right, my first question, whatever happened to Sean Jones, the quarterback used to be for Georgia Tech?
He's a safety on the practice squad for the Minnesota Vikings.
What about Ken Swilling?
I think Swilling dropped out of football. He
Okay.
was he was last cut by Tampa Bay, and they tried to move him to a linebacker because he was too big, and I think he might be out of football. I know his brother Pat still plays.
Yeah, and how?
Okay, my second question is that if you have a man on first, right, and the batter hits the ball, and if you tag the base at first, and then you throw the second, why is it that you have to tag the runner?
Because I'm sorry.
Instead of just letting it be a force out.
Okay, once you tag the base, the runner does not have. Once you tag first, the runner does not have to advance to second. He can come back to first, so he has to be tagged out rather than forced at second.
Right, you've taken the force off.
You understand?
Oh yeah, but I thought you can only do that from second and third.
No, it's always a force out when you have to advance to the next base.
Oh, okay. Thank you for clearing that up for me.
Sure. Thanks for the
All
call.
right, thank you.
Well, Jay has just turned into the teacher tonight with all this
Encyclopedia.
knowledge.
Professor.
He's got a fan club out there.
I
huh?
have to umpire one of these NCLS games, so
Hey, that's
NLCS games.
That's right. Let's get Jay out
Just split your paycheck with
Yeah,
me.
all right, no problem.
there. Make that thirds, okay? Don't count me out.
No.
Let's talk about our quarterback, Chris Miller, and this injury. He's totally out for the season.
Well, so much for the quarterback controversy now.
Yeah.
I mean, they bought a quarterback controversy earlier, and now I guess they don't have one anymore.
Well, he wanted to be traded, didn't he, before he got hurt? Did he get hurt on purpose? I don't know.
You know, the strange things do
I
happen.
think it was in the Monday night game. He didn't even get hit.
He had that one play, and then down on the sidelines, we just wondered where he was. First of all, I thought it was an insult at Miller saying, we'll stick you out there for one play. He has one play, bring him back in, stick another quarterback out there. And then on the sidelines, I saw him walking back with his uniform off, his helmet and shoulder pads. He had already taken them off and was going into the tunnel. And I didn't know what had happened, but obviously we knew he was hurt, but I had no idea it was this serious.
Right.
He's just too fragile, I guess, for the NFL. He's been hurt every year, it seems like. And, it really makes you in awe of the players like Marino and Elway that
Who've
play
been in
that
it for
risky.
so long.
Yeah, they play that risky quarterback position. They get drilled, yet they keep getting up. They start every game. I mean, those guys, you got to tip your hat to them because there was a number of quarterbacks hurt this week. It wasn't just Miller and Hebert and
Right,
Bobby Joe or whatever his name is.
right, Cunningham.
Right, okay. Well, we
Yeah.
have another phone call. Hi, caller, you're on the air. Hello? Maybe not.
More troubles.
More
Yeah,
trouble.
those darn technical difficulties.
Let's talk about Billy Joe Tolliver. Does he deserve a shot to start?
Yeah, he's
You
won
do?
more games. He's won more games than the other guys. Well, one of them's out of the picture now.
Right.
Well, you ended a quarterback controversy, so by God, let's start up another one. Let's start another quarterback
You can
controversy.
never have too many controversies.
That's
is what I
right.
say.
And Smiths and the Glanvilles, they just love him. They bring him on. So personally, I would go with Hebert. You paid him all this money. Let's go out there, see what he can do. But With the Falcons involved, there's no telling what that team's going to do.
Well, now, Abear had an MRI on his elbow, so he may not be able to play. He also got injured in the game, and I think they may have to go to Billy Joe Tolliver. I don't think he's an NFL caliber quarterback. He's got that moxie that Glanville likes. He loves to lead the team down the field, but I don't think he can read the defense like an NFL quarterback, and I don't think he has the touch. He's got a strong arm. He can really drill it in there, but you got to have touch. You got to have to know when to throw it hard, when to lob it, stuff like that. But you know,
And that'll come in the
he's
years.
won 2 games. He's won 2 games for the Falcons, which is twice as many as Miller and 2 more than Abear ever won.
Okay, well, let's give that man a hand, and we have another phone call. Hi, caller, you're on the air. Hi.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, I've got a question for Jay Marks.
Okay. Jay,
Jay,
steal
I've
the
got
show.
very good inside information on some of the dealings at the end of the season with the Smiths, the owners of the Falcons. Listen, what I've heard is they're going to be selling the team at the end of the season since they've captured the Super Bowl. What do you hear on that?
What? Is this a crank call?
No, it's not.
They're going to be the Smiths are going to sell the Falcons.
That's what I hear. Very, very serious inside information.
Well, they got to be fed up. You know, I don't know how reliable your inside information is, but to me, they have to be fed up because no matter what they try, it just hasn't worked since Lehman Bennett. They got to, quote, plateau with Lehman Bennett and said they couldn't get any farther, and now I think for the last 10, 12, 15 years, they wish they were back at that playoff plateau because Henning, Campbell, and all the rest. I can't even remember the rest of the bozos that have coached here. But they can't seem to take them to the playoffs anymore.
So I guess if we see Glanville stay on all the way through the season, I guess we can assume that that could be a possibility. Is that right?
Well, yeah. You know, it's hard to imagine how they're viewing this because the whole football world, and Ty and me included, think they should get rid of Glanville, and that's the smart move. And like people were saying on the streets today, when was the last time the Smiths did a smart move for the Falcons?
That's right.
I would
So,
like to
yeah.
see them go out and get a general manager, someone who knows what they're doing, and let him hire the coach and develop the type of players that he wants to get for his system.
Okay, well, thank you, caller, for the inside information. And remember, you heard it here first on the press box. Speaking of rumors, what about Mike Ditka? I heard that he was in town.
Personally, Jay, if Mike Ditka was to be considered for the Falcon head coaching job, I think that it would take him so long to get his type of players. He's a guy that wants that solid defense, a strong running game, and he used tight ends.
Yeah.
Well, this team has no tight ends. We have a ton of running backs, but they always seem to get hurt, and then they have to move them to different positions like Steve Broussard. And I just think that he would have to be spending forever to try and get the type of personnel he would need to be successful. So I think he would be crazy if he took this job.
I think 2 weeks ago we did say and started the Ditka rumor right here, didn't we? We said bring Ditka on.
I wanted
Oh,
Steve
and he's
Spurrier.
watching right now. He
Yeah,
heard us and just flew on down.
But if you remember, the reason we wanted Ditka here was because he scrapped the run and shoot or the chuck and duck or whatever you call it, and
The
that's
bite and
what the
run.
Falcons' offensive line, yeah. That's what the Falcons' offensive line needs. I mean, they got 2 rookies, really great rookies. I mean, they were All-American, and they're going to be All-Pro. They were obviously not on steroids or anything because they didn't shrink once they came out of college. And what they need to be doing is drive block and just pancaking linebackers, and that's the kind of football that, like Ty said, Ditka would teach. If he had this team, they would have a tight end right now. They would have 2 backs in the backfield, and they'd try to control the line of scrimmage and keep your defense off the field, which is exactly what the Falcons need. That's why I brought up the Ditka thing 2 weeks ago. But like Ty said, if they did hire him, he would spend a couple years trying to change the personnel. And
Maybe that's what we need.
No, that's what Henning did. When he came here, they said, Bennett's taken this team so far now. We need you to motivate him. And the first thing he did was say, we need to scrap this personnel. And you saw it was a 3-4 year rebuilding period where they won 2 and 3 games a year. We don't need that. We don't need to rebuild again. We need someone to come in here and retool it.
Well,
don't
we
you think?
definitely need something better than 0-5.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I like Steve Spurrier. I think he's got a great offensive mind. He could take this type of talent, and I really think he would make a competitive team out of these players.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank you both. It was a wonderful show. Thank all our callers for calling in, and catch us next Tuesday at 9. And once again, I'd like to thank our sponsors, the Atlanta Knights and Sports Authority.
see you next time.